Marcello, Peirce, gentlemen, welcome to the show. I'm genuinely happy to be talking to you guys. Glad we can make this happen. I think if the downfall is the gym's closing, if the upside to it is I get to see you guys today, I'm gonna be happy with that. So I'm really happy to have you guys, and so welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here for sure.
Awesome.
It's been a while. We've been talking about it.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm happy we can make it happen too. So with that, kind of, Peirce, you could start us off. Take us through kind of so people get to know you, just like a bit of your transition from high school to where you are now. Like, what was that process like for you leaving, and then how do we get here?
Okay, so transitioning from high school was kind of like pathless. Where I'm from, you're kind of thrown into 5 years of high school. So I was able to just kind of lollygag through without any direction. And then I decided I want to be in the trades. Just was best for me. So I finished up my second year of grade 12 with some trade-esque courses, like a little bit lower. I had done things in academic. I went down to applied.
Yeah.
And then I kind of found stride. And I said, sweet. So let's go the trade route. And then I had been referred to this instrumentation course, 30 minutes out of town, Haileybury, Ontario.
Oh, okay.
Near New Liskeard or Temiskaming, which is actually kind of a major hub. It's really close to Quebec, so big little hub there, and then I got into my instrumentation. I got into that route, and then I loved it. Just calibrating, tinkering with little instruments and having them do things for you. I loved it. Come to the end of that, I couldn't find any work. I had summer jobs in a few mine sites, and I found out that I just loved working mine sites, construction, that was for me. Yeah. And then I decided that I would add a little bit more to my education, and I did electrical. Okay. And then that started a whole apprenticeship, and that landed me here in Sudbury. Was with an apprenticeship in the electrical field.
Nice. So where did you start? Like you said, it was Temiskaming was 30 minutes or something for you? Where was the smaller community?
So the original community where I'm from is Kirkland Lake, Ontario.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Interesting. So Marcello, kind of off of that with the similar kind of question or where you started. So what's funny actually, and I don't think many people will know this, and they'll find out now. So Marcello and I went to grade school together, back in the day when they used to count grades. Yeah, when it was grade 5
to grade 8 or something.
Yeah, it was I don't know, was that primary, junior, senior, I guess? I don't know what the technical
middle school, I think.
Yeah. So that was crazy. And so, but then we parted ways. I went to Lockerbie and you went to Llewellyn, correct?
That's right. That's right.
Take us through kind of that transition from leaving Llewellyn to kind of how we got here.
Yep. So leaving Llewellyn, I went to university. It's kind of what was expected from my family. That I did the IB program at Llewellyn, so which is kind of accelerated for quote-unquote the smart people. I'll have everyone know that I'm too easy going for that kind of high-stress academic life, but it's kind of what was expected of me. My sister did all that, so it's the path is there, just take it.
Yeah. Interesting.
And after graduating, I went into Carleton University for biomedical and mechanical engineering.
Okay.
So that's kind of prosthetics design, medical equipment, things like that.
Yeah.
And from there, I did 5 years. I ended up staying a little bit longer just because there were a couple little setbacks, and I was like, you know what? I kind of like programming stuff. I'll try a little bit of computer science. So I picked up a minor in there as well. Now, in those 5 years of university, that's such a strange part of life where it's you're away from home. And you have so much freedom.
Yeah.
You discover a lot about yourself.
No routine.
No routine. Skip class if you want. There's no attendance. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
So I'll be the first to say my attendance was freaking awful, but I never failed the class.
Nice.
I graduated, and after graduation, it feels like life again just changed gears. There's always something that you'd be procrastinating on at school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's Well, this is gonna be the same until you retire, basically.
Yeah.
Just find a job, grind it out, and so now with COVID and all that, I'm working from home with a robotics company.
Oh, cool.
So we're just trying to like automate the industrial aspect. So like welding things. A lot of our customers are like agricultural,
Yeah.
so like tractor parts and stuff like that. So kind of getting distracted here, but that's kind of where I'm at now. So I'm just doing like a software engineering job, and
Nice.
it's a path. It wasn't a very direct path, but you know, eventually you make it through. It loops around.
Yeah. Awesome.
Did you guys have something similar in your first year? And a friend of mine referenced it, or said it, and the way he worded it made me go, aha, that's what I'm going to call it from now on. He said the first year of university or college or whatever post-secondary thing you decide to do is always a write-off.
For a lot of people.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of friends who completely changed programs or realized what they were enrolled in was like totally not for them. Again, I don't know, I've got some opinions on the academic system, but you're asking a lot of a 17-year-old kid to determine what they want to do for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Right? When I was 17, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to have for dinner. And to be honest, I still don't. But you know how it is, like, you don't have any exposure, like computer science, that's one of the minors I picked up, right?
Yeah.
I've never programmed anything in my life until like third year. And I was like, this is pretty cool. If I had that exposure, maybe I would have gone down a different route, right?
Right, you would have started sooner or something.
Yeah.
So, funny, I want to touch on something you just said. You said you have your opinions on the academic, like the system. We won't dive quite into it, but if I have a magic wand and I wave it and I go, Marcello, you can fix one thing with the academic system. Not thinking of any consequences or anything, I wave magic wand and boom, poof, tomorrow morning this whole thing has changed. What would that be?
That's a tough one. I think right now there's a big push to get people into universities. So it's very like white collar jobs. And I think that we should be pushing a little bit more of trades, because right now there's a high demand for it.
For sure.
And then
Is there ever?
And then, like, high school's always like, oh, academics are best. It's the route that you need to take. At least that's the impression that I had.
Yeah, me too.
So maybe I'm generalizing a little bit, but these are the kind of biases that I've seen in my experience. And I think that that's kind of a dangerous mindset, because we create these labor gaps and then we oversaturate certain fields. So, for example, like, it's so hard to become a doctor. Because everyone's trying to be a doctor. It's like, maybe sometimes that's what their parents want, or like what's expected of you. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with being a contractor or electrician who can, like, if you start your own business, you can make just as much money and sometimes live a more satisfying life, and also freaking student debts.
Yeah.
Like, that's
one of the shortcomings of the academic system.
Yeah.
For sure.
No kidding. Like, I think I had probably, I don't know what my college semesters cost per se, but it was like probably $5,000 a year tops for the full year, right? And typically those courses are, as much as they feel condensed at times with the amount of material you have to cover, right? That is still, it's 3 years tops, right? For some of them, I mean, depends on what you do with that first year. But, yeah, I think with that, there's a lot of issues with how much money you're spending. Not like if they're said, oh, it's $10,000 a year, but your program's 1 year long. Like, all right, well, we know what we're in for. But it's like, oh, it's 4 to 5 years, and you're kind of not making the right choices right off the bat, which is weird, because that 17 to 19-year-old to like 23-year-old or whatever, you need to. That's the time where you get to make those mistakes, right? Because we have so much time. Like, you can make probably in your life 3 or 4 really big catastrophic mistakes and recover from all of them, especially at the age we're at least. And it's kind of fascinating. But I didn't know you were in Carleton, like you were in Ottawa at the same time I was, up until like 2022 or 20. No, that's now. Sorry, 2018.
See, I graduated 2019. So I don't know when you were in Ottawa again. We just reconnected like
Yeah.
3 weeks ago or something.
It was like it was graduation 2015 to 2018. So roughly then.
Yeah, I guess we were in the same town then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think, do you know my buddy Chris White?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
He brought up your name a couple of times. Like, what? Small world, but okay.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I went to like summer camp with that. Like I've known that guy for years, like over a decade.
Yeah.
Probably right now it's ridiculous. But.
Shout out Chris White.
Yeah, I love the guy. He's gonna sing.
Wicked shout out.
Die laughing. Yeah, I dated his ex-girlfriend's
no.
like roommate. It was just it was a good time. Good guy. Good guy. Love the guy.
Another write-off, eh?
Yeah. Another. Oh man. I hope she watches the show. Shout out to you. You know who you are. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna get some mean messages back. But yeah, so with that though, I think that's a very interesting like way of looking at how college and university is kind of pushed differently, which is very, very weird. Or like I see it as now a lot of people I know are like, man, I'm going into trades, and it's probably the better option right now, right? Like you come out of university and you have like I see some people with like a $16 to $18 an hour job, not guaranteed hours, and you're working in your bedroom. You know,
Yeah.
like it's tough. Whereas like more tradespeople now, I notice are just very, very like, I work 50 hours this week, man.
Goddamn.
Like I don't, I'm not just waiting. We're not waiting. There's a lot of people like, I don't know what I'm gonna do for work. I don't know, and it's it's
the
bad.
Construction field's always hungry. There's so much room. Another thing too is I'm finding like when our parents were preaching for us to go to school, college, and stuff like that. Like diplomas meant something. So I have 2 diplomas now, one for electrical, one for instrumentation.
Nice.
And everywhere that I've applied, they haven't meant jack shit at all. But my parents always preached this, like get a diploma, it means something. But nowadays it really seems like a diploma is like the equivalent of like your high school diploma.
Yeah.
It seems like everything's kind of just like worth less. And I feel like the whole, like the push out of high school, same thing with like all the fear mongering of like, you need to learn cursive and you need to be this and you got to go to university. Like low key just said, I can't read cursive. But there's so much like fear mongering and I find like the school system was like so reactive and not proactive. So there was no like, well, let's develop you into something you like. Like you're like tradey, you like to work with your hands, and like physics, I picked up quick. Nothing else I picked up quick, but physics was like real, right? It was like something maybe a tradesman would understand how things work.
Very applicable, yeah.
Very applicable. So yeah, like I noticed too, like if I'm bringing myself into the magic wand situation here, and it'd be nice if they could be a little more proactive. And I'm seeing that now more so. It's like everyone is, and the world's so reactive. Like, is COVID not a topic where we're just reacting rather than being proactive?
Right.
Like it's just we're hammering being reactive, and it's like I think if we look back. Or if, like, where we are now, we look forward rather than just reacting to what's happening now. Even, like, with the school system and people not getting the jobs they want or being forced into, like what Marcello said, like, into jobs they don't like. Like, maybe if you could look into the future, if the school systems or academic system could help you do that. Because I was told... I did like I think it was a program on one of the computers, and it tells you like what you should do.
Oh yeah.
And like my parents, I think I got mechanic and like forestry, like cutting down trees.
I could see that.
But not until recently did I know that. Of course, I'll forget what they're called now. But some people, arborists, they climb trees and they cut them.
Yeah, that's
like
insane.
if you knew me at all, I'm like down for a good tree climbing, and with a chainsaw in my hands,
even better.
I had no idea. I had no idea. And the same with, there's so many jobs, even like HR, which is like super high paying, or like a safety official, like on a mine site.
Yeah.
What high school course do you take for that? You need to go work construction, lose 2 fingers, and then they put you on the safety committee, right? And that's what I mean. Like there's not only like is there like there's like no site to get people to where they got to go. There's so many jobs, and there's like, how do you get to it? What's the prerequisite?
Yeah. How
You
do
know?
find that path, right?
Yeah.
Right. Now, Peirce, that was a very specific example. Do you know somebody with two fingers cut off that works in office?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that's
Well,
way too specific.
You work in a few mines, you'll see a lot of limbless people.
So just going
Jeez.
back to that careers program that tells you what jobs are recommended for your personality and stuff.
Yeah, what was yours?
Mine, believe it or not, was vending machine servicer.
Yeah?
Yeah. I went through that.
did you fill out?
I did that questionnaire 3 times in a row, and number 1, 3 for 3 was vending machine servicer.
There's no way.
Like, what?
Like, I don't even eat things out of vending
Yeah,
machines.
good job if you own them yourself. You ever see it on
Yeah.
TikTok? A little vending machine
You make so many quarters.
mogul?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, how much do they cost up front to, like, fill?
I don't know. You probably get some discount.
Oh, it's got to be cheap.
Bulk.
It's got to
Yeah.
be cheap.
Bulk prices, right?
Vending machines and laundromats.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to go back to that. You mentioned something, Peirce, with being proactive instead of reactive. What have you guys kind of done as of late, or I guess as of late as in the last couple like months, as CODE's kind of done like it's almost like resetting. It's like 2 years ago it was nothing, and then now, oh my god, and now we're doing the same thing, except we're now really frustrated with it. But
Yeah.
what have you guys been doing proactively, let's say, that people could do as well? Because I'm kind of sick of it.
Oh, like just
Like the
for
reaction
themselves
part, yeah.
throughout this COVID
Yeah,
thing?
what have you guys kind of been doing?
Oh god, like just staying healthy. Like now that I'm in the workforce, right? We're out of high school. Working is like the sole driver of my of just like who I am. It seems.
Yeah.
Same with my metabolism. I sit down on the couch. So like this is Sudbury specific, but that strike.
Yeah.
When I was off for work for 20 weeks. It's not that the strike was 20 weeks, but I made a few
that's right,
mistakes. I made a few mistakes, and maybe a couple of those big mistakes. You're talking about.
You're like, oh, it was one of the 4.
But yeah, like just not moving.
Yeah.
The things it did to me, just being someone who's trained in the gym their whole lives, and then not being stripped away from it, not moving, not having that type of like activity I get from work.
Yeah.
Did it ever destroy me? So now I'd say it's not getting out in a social aspect, but getting out and just staying consistent. Like routine, I've realized is like so important, especially like proactively, like to just maintain it or develop it.
Yeah.
Like I've been going skating regardless if it's cold or not. Just
Nice.
I take care of myself,
Yeah.
right? Like I may not go skating for 2 hours in the
No.
minus 30, but like
It's a
get
little
out there,
excessive.
do something.
Yeah.
Go for
You
a
know?
walk.
Get the blood going, because sitting stagnant, like, you know, no good.
No.
What do they say?
Motion's
Idle hands do the devil's work.
No,
Right?
Yeah. Idle hands do the devil's work. It's true. It's true, baby. Motion's lotion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I like that. I like that a lot. There's something to be said where, so this week, my buddy is looking to be the first person. So he's training to be in July. He's going to attempt to be the first person to swim around Manitoulin Island.
Right on.
Right, to raise money
That's
for
impressive.
MS. Oh, it's absolutely stupid. It's like between 350 and 400 kilometers on Lake Huron.
That's
It's
wild.
going to be a month. Yeah, it's this astronomical challenge. So me being me, I'm like, yeah, man, I want to help you out, support you, do what I can, hop in the pool. Swam a bunch in my life, like, no problem. I'm going to swim 10K with you, or at least one day, like one leg. He's like, right on. So for the past bit, we've been training a couple times a week in the pool. Pools are closed. We went for a run on Thursday at the exact same time that we would have been in the pool.
Yeah.
Way worse than going for a swim. No thanks. Oh, I get to go to a well-heated building and hop in the pool and swim laps. Amazing.
Yeah.
Start
Yeah.
the car. Now I gotta layer up, sweat, get this giant snow beard thing on my face,
Oh, yeah.
run like 5 to 8K somewhere. It was honestly probably 4.5. I'll be honest. And so doing that and then keeping that structure as it goes is, I think, when it comes to people, especially who have like seasonal depression and other stuff that have, like, I experienced that, not to an extent where I know a lot of other close friends of mine have, but more just the season hits, it's darker. Thankfully I'm not underground, so I don't actually, I don't have to experience, I'm sure at some points you don't see summer for a while. Or
Yeah,
you
I don't see sunlight.
Yeah.
I actually see sunlight on night shifts when I come up. it's like 6 a.m., right? So by the time
not
I get
too
out of the
bad.
shower, but I'm like, night shift is like the destroyer of relationships.
Yeah.
Some people call it not just a graveyard shift, but like the divorce shifts, just because it's
Divorce.
yeah, just
I've not
because
heard that one yet.
it's so bad. But in the winter, I don't mind it because I do get to see the sun. Summertime, like you see the sun for what you can,
Yeah,
but
sure, yeah.
but like come our winter months here up in Sudbury, like yeah,
That's bad. Right on.
seasonal depression like bites.
It's not good. Dude. No, it's not good. So Marcelo, what is something that you've kind of been doing proactively?
Oh boy. Honestly, COVID hasn't really affected me too much.
Nice, good.
Because
That's good to hear.
like I've basically readopted the lifestyle that I had in high school when I was still living with my mom and dad. So, for context, after graduating, I moved to Waterloo because that's where the office was. COVID hit, and now we're back to work from home. And so, to cut costs, my parents, they also hadn't seen me much in a few years because of school and all that.
Nice.
They're like, just come back and work from here. I was like, hey, okay, cool.
I bet. Yeah.
So, from there, like, I only have a handful of friends here from high school, and we've maintained contact. So,
Nice.
my social circle isn't really exceeding 10 per se, but, you know, they're the best friends I've ever had, really.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, like, I like to maintain that routine, so as soon as, like, gyms opened up, I was going there. I mean, we've basically been going until the most recent shutdown, like, 6 times a week?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's
You
like
guys
the same
insane.
time...
I love it. That's awesome.
Same time every day. Like my day's basically routine. Like wake up, work, get the food in, gym, do whatever else like to bring
Nice.
out the rest of the day. So
Oh yeah.
so like routine I think is the most important part. When the gyms were closed, I was a mess.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I guess that frees up like 4 hours of my day.
Oh God, 4
Guess-
hours for mistakes.
Guess I'll play
no.
video games or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez. Dude, I did at the beginning of this whole thing. Who was I talking to? I was talking to somebody like a couple years ago, back when this kind of thing started. I was like, and because of the amount of like jujitsu I do, and I was doing at the time when it all started, I had a group of friends and myself would like we were this close to like just picking fights with people on corners at bus stops, like homeless people, not just like being arrogant, but like we're like, oh, we're gonna start scrapping them, but we're just not gonna strike them, you know, or we're just gonna strike them this time, you know. We're just like we're trying to mix it up just to get out the endorphins as much as you can. I'm just like, hey, we'll give you $50 to scrap us right now. Okay, look,
It's a win-win. It's a win-win.
It's a win.
Not
It's a win-win
expecting
for
this
sure.
direction.
So, desperate times.
Desperate times.
Desperate times indeed. So, with that, you guys train 4 hours a day?
no,
What
no,
are you
that's-
saying? That's insane.
Oh, that's between
I just
commuting
went
and like
past-
getting
oh.
changed and freaking lollygagging afterwards.
Oh yeah,
showers,
lollygag.
you know?
But it's usually a good, like, yeah, there's some lollygagging, but usually a good 2.
2
It's like
hours.
4. What
If
do
it's
you
one of those
do
crazy
there?
max out days, maybe 2.5. Like
That-
if it's a full
that's
gym and
reasonable.
then like
Yeah.
if Pat's there,
Yeah,
Yeah.
shenanigans.
like there's a lot
Yeah.
of weight to be loaded, unloaded. That adds time.
Yeah.
A lot of weight to be unloaded.
There's just so much weight.
Because I hear people say that, I'm like, man, I have a buddy I went to high school with, and he said, this was a couple years ago, I remember walking into him in Walmart, and he goes, I'm like, hey man, I'm like, man, you look really good, like, you lost a lot of, like, weight, and not just, like, you just look skinnier, but you just, like, you look fit, man, this is really weird, congrats. He's like, yeah, man, I'm at the gym 4.5 hours a day.
That's
I was
excessive.
like, what do you mean 4.5 hours? So he said it, I was like, I gotta know what he's doing for 4 hours in a, like, room this size. Like he said, I'm like, I'm really intrigued. So,
Just exercising the demons.
just exercising the demons, eh?
It took a long time to take off, like, my initial COVID wave weight.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Jeez.
It really stacked on. It took a lot of time. I don't know if it took 4 hours in a 10 by 10 shed.
Because it's a garage.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a garage. Well, unheated or not, it's still, it gets the job done, it
Oh,
keeps
yeah.
the weight off.
You're damn right.
Damn right.
You're damn right it does.
So I met you two a couple weeks ago in Toronto. I don't know if it was Oakville, Markham, Scarborough, one of the...
I think it's Scarborough, no?
I don't know. Southern Ontario. Anything south of Barrie confuses me.
Yeah, south of Barrie.
Markham, whatever. But yeah, so met you guys there, and it was for a powerlifting meet.
No.
Weightlifting.
Weightlifting.
Weightlifting meet.
Yeah, there's a difference.
All right, so that goes right into my first question. I need you to clarify because I feel I ruffled some feathers.
So this is actually a
on this side of
conversation
the
I
table.
had with quite a few of my coworkers.
Okay.
So I requested a few days off. I'm like, yo guys, I'm heading to Toronto for exactly this meet that we're talking about. And they were like, oh shit, so what's this competition? I said weightlifting. It's like, cool, so you're like bodybuilding? No, bodybuilding is more of like it's almost
beauty contest.
It's almost a pageant.
It's a beauty contest.
Not to throw shade or anything, but it's not about how much weight you can lift. It's about like the symmetry and sculpting your body into a piece of art, right? Then, so that's kind of like the more aesthetic side of, I guess, strength sports.
Yeah, the fitness world for sure.
Then there's powerlifting, which is squat, bench, and deadlift.
3 lifts.
I
So
see the
3
difference.
lifts. Yeah.
With
And then with those, like powerlifting meets, typically the amount of weight being moved around is more significant. Like you'll get up to like the 400 kilos for
Yeah,
elites.
like people are lifting insane weights.
Yeah. And then there's weightlifting, which is also referred to as like Olympic weightlifting.
Yeah.
That is the snatch and the clean and jerk. So it's a 2-event kind of sport.
Nice.
Little less weight, a lot more finesse and technique.
Yeah, you
A
don't
lot
say.
faster.
It's a lot faster.
More flexibility.
Yeah, it looked like I liked it. Like I enjoyed thoroughly watching you guys weightlift. Compete, and I had a blast. So what I want to know, we start with you, Marcelo, is how'd you get into it? Like why weightlifting? What's that about?
Alright, so this kind of goes back to my days at Carleton University. Big shout out to my boy Quinn.
Nice.
So-
Shout out to Quinn.
Quinn was always into, like, when he was in high school, he was doing wrestling at a pretty competitive level. And then he's always been doing a lot of, like, gym stuff. And then university happened. First year, I wasn't really too into weights and stuff like that. Second year was, like, freaking turbulent as all hell. And then, like, I did no physical activity whatsoever. So I was weighing in at, like, 67-ish kilos, and I'm, like, fairly tall.
Oh no, I can't even convert that into pounds.
Yeah, that's, I think, I want to say, like, 150.
150.
Yeah, I was like it's by 2.2, so I'm like it's
And so, like, I was a light boy, skinny boy. And then my friend Quinn, he was like, yo, I want to just see what happens. So he basically just kidnapped me and was like, you're going to lift with me, son. So this guy at the time, he was like he would bench over 300.
Yeah.
So he's
And,
a
like,
unit.
He's a unit,
Mass.
yes. Yeah, and since he was a
Jeez.
wrestler, he also has that cauliflower.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, no one wants to fuck with him.
Yeah.
So he basically just kidnapped me, and then I was like starting to do a little bit of more bodybuilding style stuff, just like bulk up, gain some mass. And then I realized that I didn't really care much for the accessory work or like that whole bulking up and all that. I was like, I just want to lift more than that guy.
Okay.
And Carleton has a pretty powerful, like, has a pretty good powerlifting team.
Yeah.
So there's some guys that won like Commonwealths and like international meets and set world records.
Wow.
So there's like the strong sense of community, and like my buddy Quinn, he was friends with all of them. So me being a new guy and then kind of having access to all those guys, it was kind of a nice learning and situation where if I was confused, this complete unit of a man would be like, hey man,
Set you straight.
like try doing this, this, and this. I'm like, okay, yeah,
Yes,
I know, yeah, exactly.
Yes,
And
sir.
then your numbers would start shooting up a little bit. And then I got pretty into powerlifting, so squatting, benching, deadlifting, because the Olympic lifts weren't allowed at that gym. So we didn't have like bumper plates, and the platforms weren't
That's right,
like
they don't,
as absorbent.
Really nice gym, but they
Very
just,
nice gym.
no chalk in it, right? Or you could?
Chalk, they didn't really care too much about.
No, okay.
Like, just don't be a clown about it.
Yeah. Don't be LeBron. All right.
Yeah. So from those powerlifting days, I kind of got addicted to moving more weight, moving it faster, maybe like one more rep. So I was benching like basically like just about daily.
Yeah.
squatting and deadlifting twice a week each one, so my numbers shot up. And then like I went to go do some deficit deadlifts, and I was wearing my weightlifting shoes because they really help with the squats, right?
Oh yeah.
And then this 6'7" dude, strongman competitor, he's like, "Yo, you're like too flexible for powerlifting. You should try Olympic weightlifting." I was like, "Okay." Yeah, so I looked into it a little bit more, and I was like, "Yo, that's cool as shit."
Yeah.
And it's actually in the Olympics, unlike powerlifting. So I was like,
that's true.
Yeah, you have a trajectory.
Right.
"Yeah, there's the goal. It doesn't mean I'm going to hit it." But
Yeah,
like,
at least
close
there's
enough.
It's there, right? It's
Yeah.
cool to see it at that level.
Yeah, and then so I kind of got really into it, self-taught for 6 months or so.
Nice.
And then, like, COVID happened, and then, like, maybe last November, so November 2020, that sounds about right, I joined up with the Sudbury Weightlifting Club,
Nice.
and then our coach, like, he made me less bad. And then I kept getting, like, again, it's kind of like the competition with myself, almost an addiction, where I want to be less lightheaded, for example, as one of my metrics, or do a weight for a double, catch it lower, things like that. So
yeah.
it's something that ultimately just stemmed, I guess, like you said, there's a butterfly effect. It was just my friend kidnapping me, making me go to the gym.
Yeah.
Single-handedly, that's the moment that changed my life.
So you were kidnapped, and now you lift heavy things. It's kind of like the
Honestly,
the
best case
beginning.
scenario.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right on. Jeez, that's really cool. That's a cool way that you kind of got. I love those kind of moments when somebody gets introduced to something, and they're not just introduced to it and they have to kind of figure it out on their own, but you take somebody who's like rather intelligent like yourself, and then you put them out of their element into a new environment, right? Fair to call it?
Yeah.
Kind of that. But you put them around these people who are like elite, high level, national, world class of this thing, and then you see the people like yourself who are very intelligent just kind of picking. They're like, whoa, like you're picking their brains all the time, and you see how they adapt, and then it's really cool to see that shift to people, right? Where especially if you're saying you're like, I wasn't athletic at all, and now all of a sudden, so that's really cool, man. That's really cool. So Peirce, same kind of question, because I will say this, and I did make this comment at the meet a couple weeks ago, where I said you're the only person in your category or your weight class that looked like you could move the weight that you were about to move.
Yeah.
So take me through kind of how you got started in weightlifting. Like, how'd you get there?
Okay, so my dad, competitor in bodybuilding, and then in the most recent years he competed in powerlifting with me once. He did a bench only meet. We'll talk about that later. But so just my dad himself was into training.
Yeah.
Very old school, very hardcore. Yeah, he's an underground miner.
Oh, jeez.
And then he's like kind of specialized in like drilling and like drilling shafts, like just and that's even more of a hardcore line of work.
Yeah.
So he took that mantra into weightlifting, and I was in the gym at like, I think my first bench press was like 6 years old, and then I fully got into lifting. I think I was 12. I think I have 13 years in the gym. I was a 25-year-old. So I started young. I think I was 120 pounds when I started in the summer of grade 8. And I just trained and trained and trained throughout my years, throughout high school. And then actually it was college, I ended up doing my first powerlifting meet. So most of my training, I'd say, was bodybuilding up until maybe, let's say, like grade 11. The testosterone starts rising, and that competitive edge and that desire, I think, I don't know what the word is, but like to best your father. Whatever that one is,
don't know the
take the throne. So
you're the man of the house now.
Yeah, so there was like that desire to get stronger, and then it was also it was something I did. I was well versed in it, so I hopped into powerlifting.
Nice.
Something my dad didn't do, something I saw as a little more productive. I didn't work in the mine, I was a high school kid.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, my old man works and trains. I'll just do something that does both.
Yeah.
Power lift. So I took all my experience and all his experience, and I put that into powerlifting. I did 2 meets, and I've met a bunch of wicked people in the process. Some of my training buddies are like little phenoms. Had a 17-year-old deadlift 700 pounds, bench 400.
What are you saying?
Yeah, he's a monster.
Jeez, how big of a...
Keegan Weber, shout out to you, bud. He's a monster. He just did police foundations here. I don't know if it's continuing with COVID or whatnot. We've kind of gone to the wayside with talking, but we're still good pals, and he's a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Monster.
Sick. Good. Good for
And
him.
then, so
awesome.
Kirkland Lake, small community, strong community, maybe a little too strong, a little too hardcore. It's just a mining town, right? So it's just, people are there for money and to party, drink away the aches and pains from working. So when I came to Sudbury, 2018 for electrical, obviously I had to train. I had to train when I got here.
Obviously,
and I'd consider myself attempting to compete in powerlifting. And then my girlfriend kind of just decided, or not decided, but I have been talking about this weightlifting thing. She's like, are you ever going to do it? Are you ever going to commit? Yeah. And I had always been intrigued with just being more efficient than just being brutally strong. Because, like, for example, my 17-year-old buddy, he's brutally strong. Right, he's moving 700 pounds at 17.
A vehicle.
And he was shown on TV lifting a car once. Yeah, his video went viral.
Yeah, good for him. That's crazy.
Back at the car in the back of our workshop at school.
Jesus Christ.
But I was a little quicker than everyone else. I was really good at jumping and like all the prerequisites of sports. But like KL had no sports other than hockey, which I don't do. And I kind of wasn't any good at sports. You know, like I could jump and I could run, but I couldn't do anything with it. So I said, I'm getting stiff. I'm not getting any more flexible. I'm going to try this weightlifting while I can. And then I met this guy. And then in his pursuit to lift heavier and heavier weights, we've created a bond, and we've been doing the same thing. I've been just trying to lift heavier and heavier weights faster and faster. And I love it. Is it ever different just from training? Chasing a pump and looking pretty is nice. Yeah. But training in a mirrorless room, throwing around a bar and weights with your buddies.
There is no mirrors in that.
There's no mirrors.
Damn.
Yeah.
Alex.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Oh, that's terrifying. Right on.
Yeah.
I'm glad you actually tried a little bit of weightlifting down with Varmont that weekend. How'd you find it?
Dude, it was intense. I was pretty nervous. Like, there was a lot of, when you go into a new situation completely out of your element, right? Like, I
sounds
know,
like right now.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. So, I love it. That's awesome. So I go and I found, first things first, everybody really nice and welcoming. Yeah. And it's weird because you see people who are like these savages lifting like heavy ass weight, and I'm like going in, I'm like, I know. I'm like, you guys all look like you can lift weight, and I see you moving the weight, and I'm like, I know what I'm capable of. I'm like, I'm more just like to grapple and do all that sort of stuff and tilly a little bit here and there. I'm like, this is a little out of my element here. But everybody's like, hey man, nice to meet you. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then the way I looked at it, I was like, hey, you know what? Open mind, open doors, right? So I'm like, okay, I should keep an open mind. In this, that's all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna like shut my mouth, listen as much as I can, listen as best as I can, and try to be as focused as I can on learning what I'm doing as correctly and do it as correctly as possible. Yeah. And then at the end of the whole thing, and everybody's coming up to me. They're like, man, like that was awesome. You said you were learning quickly, which is really. And I'm like oh, that's like, I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, hey man, wait. But it's kind of like, it was kind of mildly embarrassing when I like do my snatch with the bar, and then he goes, no, puts the bar away, gets the smaller bar, like and I'm like, in front of everybody? Yeah. You're gonna do this to me? And then I look around, I'm like, wait, nobody's looking, nobody gives a shit, this is good. And then one guy, I remember Mark, he looks at me, he's like, yo dude, I was on that thing for weeks. And I was like, oh really? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, 'cause I just saw you like snatch quite a bit, dude. I don't know what. And he's like, no, it's fine. Like he's like, you do it right with light, and then you go up as he kind of sees fit. Yeah. I'm like, okay. I'm like, so he knows what he's doing, eh? And so they know what they're doing here. And he's like, yeah. Kind of looked at me weird, and I was like, "Oh, Patty, so," and he's like, "Dude," I was like, "Man, that was cool. You know, we got to learn from them." And then he's like, "Yeah, I showed you the video of him like clean and jerking. What was it, like the 273, some absurd number?
Yeah.
That video,
I think.
yeah." And I was like, "Oh, that was him?" He's like, "Yeah, man." And then I like actually started to research, like figured out who they were, and I was like, "Oh, like, there's some prestige to where we were." I was like,
world champions.
That's cool. So I was like, oh, to find that out at the end, I was like, I was like, it probably helped my anxiety a little bit, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
But I was like, oh, I just was able to have fun. It's cool, because when you're new at something, you can have fun learning, right? Because you're like, I'm never going to be a competitive weightlifter. Like, I just don't see that out right now. But to do that and, like, learn it, the way I was telling them, too, I might have told you guys this as well, but being strong is never a weakness. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way it can't help. Me training that night, or training weightlifting, or powerlifting, there's no way it can't help me towards, like, my grappling goals, or to my, like, my swimming goals, or whatever, like, triathlon, whatever stuff kind of look towards, I'm like, oh, there's no way doing Olympic lifts can't help you in any way, right? Yeah. It's not going to hinder your
especially
goals.
With that grappling example you just said, because I kind of did the inverse. So I tried Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu once when I was like at like peak powerlifting days, and then these guys were like, "Yo, this guy looks kind of strong, but he has no idea what he's doing." So that's a whole other type of opponent that they're not used to within that gym, right?
It's weird.
So everyone wanted to fight me because I could just like hold them, and they're like, "Hey, this is fun. Like, this is a complete different strategy from what they're used to, because it's such a technical sport, it's fast paced." And here I am, mid panic attack, like, no. And so I'm just like on top of someone, like probably 2 weight classes higher than them.
Yeah.
And they're just like trying to break me, so it's just me just tensing up in a ball, and they're like, "Hey, this is so much." They had a blast because I don't know what I'm doing.
That's awesome.
And that's kind of what you could expect from like a street fight, let's say.
That's always
not everyone's going to be like doing their fancy grapples and like
it's
bars and stuff. It's a little bit more grounded in reality as to what they could expect. So I guess I did them a solid.
Yeah,
hooked them up. I find with people in that, and that's a perfect example, because I think a lot of times, if you know somebody, just with the quick street fight example, I've seen like a handful of them, but I've never seen like elite level fighters get in them. I've seen them just avoid and walk away from people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, yo. There was one example in Ottawa when I first started, so I was 6 months in. It was at Nova Unal, and this guy Pablo, he spoke Portuguese majority of the time, and just every now and then would throw in details in English. He's got a cross tattoo like here.
Oh yeah, okay.
So just authentic. A savage. Oh yeah.
Very authentic.
Not playing at all. So he's as gangster as it comes, and I remember we did a seminar in November. Okay, I think it was November 2019. We did a seminar where Thalis Latis, this guy who trains through Nova Unal and was a 185-pound like top 5 like UFC contender, and just like a world champion like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter. So he came up to teach the seminar.
Wow.
So we get them teaching first. The Friday night was gi, and the Friday night was no gi. The Saturday was gi, or the other one of what I didn't say.
Like the outfit, the gi?
Yeah, so the gi and no gi, right, which is basically your t-shirt and shorts versus your, the traditional gi. Mm-hmm. So, or kimono. And so between that, I remember we were going, and we go all eat after the seminar. It's about 7 o'clock. We eat at this, I think it was, what's the name of like a burger place on Wellington? You can name one, and it'll probably be what it is. Oh. I'm blanking on burger names.
I'm not remembering.
It's okay. It's like a Burger World, or it's something. No, it's North Bay. But anyways, so it's a burger joint, and we all go to eat there, and on our way out, this big guy. So there's like these 2 guys, and then all of us. So there's like 11 of us, and then these 2 savages. So there's a group of us, and we leave. As we're leaving the restaurant, this guy like shoulder checks Pablo, and so all of us are like, yo, yo, this guy's gonna die. Like, we're gonna have to start, because we assume, like, we know what he's capable of. We know, like, the work he puts in the rounds and, like, what he's been through. Like, he trains with Jose Aldo at, like, Grappling World. You know, like, just elite of the elite with these people. And he's like, we're all like, oh no, we're like, this guy's about to die. Like, we're about to watch something go down. And then his buddy comes out, and they're all like, hey, man. And Pablo's like, oh, sorry, man. Didn't mean to. And I'm like, yo, he hit you intentionally. He's like, no, sorry, man. And then the guy comes in, like, yo, don't be an asshole to my friend. And I'm like, oh, no. So now there's two of them. So now Dallas comes behind him, and they're just like, yo, what are you doing? They're like, yo, stop right now. And they're just like, get out of our face. You know, fucking. Like, they're threatening these guys, and they're just like, yo, they're like, yo, relax. Go back inside. Just go back inside. Just go back inside. They would not stop saying, just go back inside. And then we're all just like it's freaking out. I'm like, oh, it's going to be good.
Pulling out the cell phones.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, this is crazy. And then I remember them being there like, no, go back inside. And then I remember them both going, you know, whatever. And they kind of pushed them back in, shut the door, and then turned around, backs to the door, and kept walking out. You could hear the door cling open. And the guys start yelling again, not doing anything. They're not moving. And they just didn't blink. They just kept walking away. And they're like, all right, guys, let's go. And so we all just kept walking away. And we're like, yo, nothing? We're like, you guys didn't? And they're like, not worth it. And I'm like, whoa.
Go to jail for what they could do, right?
Yeah, like, it's just not... It probably wouldn't do much. It probably just de-escalate it certain, like, a reasonable way. But there's that expectation of us being like, yo, somebody's going to get head kicked asleep. It's going to be crazy. But... no, it's one of those things I'm like, you get to be around people like that and then see all these things that you're able to pick up and learn. And then when you start something, and I'm sure you both experienced this, there's like a very steep peak or a steep curve you hit of your learning curve when you're starting something out. Mm-hmm. How was that for you guys? Like, did you feel right away when you started weightlifting, Marcello, it was like very steep, or was it more like kind of gradual?
Oh man, this one, it's hard to describe because there's some days that you feel limber. Peirce knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's like nothing hurts, and then maybe you're just pissed off or something. You just throw the aggression on the bar. And those days, like, you break records. Mm-hmm. And then there's other days where you think a little bit too much, or you try a different cue, and then suddenly everything breaks.
Yeah, you lose it all.
You lose it all. Like at the contest, for example, I missed 2 out of my 3 snatches, and a variety of things where, like, my warm-up wasn't what I'm used to. Mm-hmm. It's a whole other location, so, like, something that's really important for me and, like, beginner weightlifters is there's a spot on the wall, and you just track that location while you snatch. So up, and then when you catch it, you're still looking at that same spot. If that's a little bit lower down, you're going to fall forward. If it's too high, you'll fall backwards. It needs to be just right. And then since I've never set foot on that platform until my first attempt, I was like, oh, goddamn, what do I do? Yeah. So, like, by the time you try one thing and then try another thing, that curve, it's not linear, it's not exponential or anything like that. It's just zigzags. So some days it's amazing, other days complete trash, other days are just all basically write-offs, and other days like, I could lift the world. Nice. So it's a hard one to really answer, but like you said earlier, if you're getting stronger, it's never gonna be a downside.
No.
So like Peirce kind of came in while like me and the other guys, we were peaking.
Yeah, they were peaking.
And then Peirce just walks in, he's like, I can squat. Except he's dumb strong. Yeah. So he was keeping up with us really well. So I think like on your 3rd day, you already clean jerked 100.
Yeah. Yeah, so I ended up getting like, they were peaking, right? So they were, like this trajectory you're talking about, this learning curve, they were taught and, honed well enough where they could be allowed to kind of push their limits, get some new numbers. Let's see where they can go with what they got. And when I came in, you're talking about this learning curve, I think there's maybe a few different charts, a few different metrics, like flexibility, speed, strength, ability to just not be dead. Endurance. Like, just like, not be dead. Yeah, I don't even know what you'd call it, just being able to come in 6 days a week or whatever it may be. But for me, my learning curve, was stunted in a way where like I wasn't very good, but I was thrown into good heavy weights really fast.
Yeah.
But the thing was, I was so stiff, I just let the weights kind of crush me, and they would be in the right spot just because they were so heavy.
Yeah.
But in reality, like when I was doing 100, like if we're talking about this learning curve, I was maybe only ready for 60.
Mm-hmm.
But since I was so strong,
Yeah.
I was just able to just throw up more with the boys.
Right.
But definitely, like that learning curve you're talking about, for me, I think it's been rather horizontal. And there's those days where things click, because it's you learning your body, right? You got to learn how it moves. You got to learn how to land in certain positions.
Yeah.
But I don't have the flexibility Marcello possesses.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, my learning process is a lot more of like, how can I use my body the way it moves?
Yeah, the way it needs to.
And then just like leveraging time, like my own time to flexibility and stretching. Where like his learning curve is a lot more like, how can he develop like an explosive strength that he can use with this vast mobility?
Right, that you already have that.
Yeah,
you just probably want to rip it off the ground.
Yeah, and I have that explosiveness, but like it's not. I don't need to learn how to use that.
Yeah.
I got that, but I need to learn how to not have my elbows explode.
Between the two of us, there's a good lifter somewhere.
Yeah, yeah,
Amazing, nice. I'm gonna cut that really quick. Nice,
perfect.
I'm gonna shift these fucking things a bit sooner too. Move those a bit closer.
that's fascinating. That you each have like a very, very, very different, it seems like, upbringing into the sport of weightlifting. And how do your kind of upbringings help your mindset and approach to training? Peirce, you want to answer?
Okay. My mindset, at least when it comes to upbringing, was hard.
Yeah.
Like a common quote at my place was like, drink a cup of cement, harden the fuck up. So
drink a cup of cement and harden the fuck up.
So
That's
for
amazing.
me training, just because I have such a long history, I know like certain numbers that I should be at.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like the pursuit of bigger numbers, I'm usually pretty hard on myself, but I'm really good at just dialing in.
Nice.
I'd say my mindset is just kind of like, just because I've had it trained into me, especially like from an old school trainer like my dad,
Yeah.
I've had the ability to just kind of stick to it, like the chicken, broccoli, rice thing. Like, I totally like advise against it, but I can do it, and I happen to do it just because it can be a lot easier. But with the weightlifting, it's really hard, and I do find myself doubting myself a lot. But I think just like that routine that we spoke about earlier, like just showing up, keep working, and then the learning. You're talking about how it just opens more doors. Like I go there to learn, and I go there to just do my best. But like I'm hard on myself. Like I go there, and I'm pretty sure there's questions about my sanity. I use anger definitely as a motivation, maybe even as a performance enhancement. Like yeah, I might be on the dark side a bit, but
Dude, that's awesome.
that's the way I do it.
It was fun to watch you compete. And by the way, I have the photos. I got to send you guys. So
Right on.
Yeah, we'll grab them
Awesome.
upstairs after if you guys have a minute. But anyways, I forgot. I was like, I have to tell you guys or I'm going to forget. So I really enjoyed watching you guys compete, mainly, especially, I get amped up when it's absolutely quiet and then it goes quiet to chaos. So like you're lifting up your weight and you're yelling, come on! And I'm like, oh no! I was like, here we go, I'm getting jazzed up.
Those ones are tame compared to some of the other ones we've had. It like
That was tame.
Oh, I bet.
he only yelled it like twice. Like that's weak.
Yeah.
I want to like be a fly on the wall one day when you guys train,
Yeah,
just to experience that because I love that kind of like we have it similar minus the like the yelling, but it's very like it's definitely specifically aggressive. Like we're gonna be like, yo, rip his fucking arm off.
Yeah.
Like yelling all like and it's like, well, the guy's in a position to fucking do that.
Yeah.
So, but it's not nearly as like loud and angry too much. So like it's a different but same like you channel a form of aggression to kind of get yourself to that, in that state that you need to be to, I guess, achieve your goal, or accomplish your task.
Yeah.
So, Marcel, what do you attribute your like mindset to? Like, how do you kind of use your like upbringing, which is very unique from Peirce's, to?
Okay, so one of the things that kept me in weightlifting versus powerlifting is the technicality of it.
Yeah.
And then, like, I've just always been a very technically oriented person.
Yeah.
Since I was little, like, I'd play with Lego and, like, destroy those, like I would just tear it up with the Lego instructions, and my parents were always like, oh, like how can you determine like which block goes where? Like I've always had that attention to detail. Then even like in the music that I listen to, I like heavy metal, not because it's, well, I do like the aggression and stuff, it's kind of therapeutic in its own sense, but I also love the complexities and nuances of like the drums or the guitar and stuff like that.
Interesting.
And then even in high school I did hurdles, so it's like the 100-meter dash, but you're also jumping. Like, that's an extra little twist on it.
To it. Yeah.
So the way I saw powerlifting versus Olympic is, it's like powerlifting with that extra little flair, a little bit more to it. So I was just really fascinated and attracted to that. So each time I go, like, there are days where I'm a little frustrated because it's not moving the way I want.
Yeah.
And then, like, if I'm able to take something away and then improve myself, even if it's like half a kilo, or I'm feeling less lightheaded, that is one of the metrics that I like to use. So like, when I lift, I'm like, yo, I'm not lightheaded. Fuck yeah. Like,
interesting.
Like, that's just, I like amassing these small victories. Yeah. And then looking back in the last year, it didn't feel like I was like progressing day after day. But then, like, if I take notes on that training session, it's like, yeah, there's small victories, and then you can really see, like baby steps, they do add up. So I guess it's a weird form of discipline, and then, like, just enjoying what I'm doing.
Right.
I don't know. And also, like when you're sitting still at a desk job all day, just, like, sometimes things happen, you get frustrated at work, and then at a commercial gym, you can't really, like, throw weights on the floor, but, like, when you slam down a bar, it feels pretty good. It's cathartic.
Nice.
It unlocks something primal, I guess.
Yeah. That's really cool.
That's kind of where my mind's at.
Do you touched on it real quick there, but do you journal your workouts? Do you guys?
Yes and no,
when I started, I did, but I feel like, well, I tried to digitalize it.
Yeah.
It was on my phone.
Yeah.
And then there were too many entries, and then shit started lagging real bad. So I got a little lazy. But I do kind of keep, like whenever we go for records or something, we do have someone recording, and then I just draw a little, like, write a little note in my phone, like, this is this way, and then it has the date already.
Oh, nice. So
it's kind of logged in a way. But I don't journal as much as I should. I know that
it should be religious, but we don't.
No, I take the small victories as they come, but I don't journal it too religiously. No.
Yeah. As you get further on that learning curve too, like you kind of know. Like when I first started, I was like I was writing like snatch and jerk. Like I didn't even know what I was doing. It's clean and jerk, right? So I was making all these mistakes, journaling. It's and like, whereas powerlifting is just, you kind of go there, lift the weights, and you got to work on form and your strength, and then you just got to recover. Eat, sleep. With the weightlifting, like writing it down, understanding it, learning it, looking at like, oh, look, it's like these are like this much volume, like this structure, you kind of learn it. But then, like, we have the same trainer, and I'm not saying we only do the same things, but we do now, just because we train so often and so specific. There's only 2 lifts, right? And our gym is so limited to equipment. Like, it's not like we can be like, oh, incline dumbbell press PR. Like, we can't do that. We don't have the ability. So because there's so little range for exercise, it's rather easy to just keep it, like, under wraps. Plus, we have it written on our wall. Right. Like our record wall. So do we journalize? Not as much as we should, but it is there, though. Like, there's definitely, there's order to the chaos. For sure.
So I guess when it comes to journaling stuff, it's interesting that you guys have that. I feel like you do, but in like a different way. If you're not like, you make the note of like, oh, I felt lightheaded, or my back was sore after my 4th round with Brady. You know, like that's kind of how I document my workouts. Different kind of. I used to do, like you said, like more specific, right? But I do think it's important to do it, but I think you could still achieve your goals without it.
Yeah.
I
Right.
agree with that.
Yeah.
To an extent. So I think it's being aware of what, like, just, okay, I'm here, and then going back. I think it's just, like you said, like in a different form. You know, like it's on the wall. I have it in my phone.
Yeah, it's somewhere. But if it wasn't, I don't know. I don't know if it would you just fail your journey to whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
But it's helpful, eh? I definitely think so. Like today, my metric was, or the other day was, how I felt after a run of night shifts.
Nice.
Right? And I can't train during the day, everyone's working, and then I'm working, everyone's sleeping. So like there's metrics like that, and sometimes like you can't really just journalize like, you know, not sleepy after 4 nights.
Well, you could, but it'd be so hard to keep track of.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is so subjective too that like the lightheadedness example or how tired you are, like there's no unit of measure. So if it's like 1 rep maxes, 2 rep maxes per exercises, sure, by all means journal. It takes 2 seconds really. I'm just, again, like I said at the beginning, I'm kind of lazy when it comes to pens and pencils, right? Like anything academic note taking is like, goddamn, it's something I'm definitely trying to improve on. Let that be clear.
Bring a tape recorder, eh?
Yeah, but like I trick myself into journaling it by just like my Instagram is like, I don't care much for social media, but I'm basically using it as a diary of my competition results. So like sense. The 2 of them that I've had are like, I think my first post is like the engineering graduation or something. So it's like kind of a form of chronicling my accomplishments, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it is.
That's an interesting one. I think using social media as that tool to journal or document your life, whether it be failures or successes. I think that's something that I've tried to use but a tool for, whether it be the podcast or different things. But I love social media as like what it is for me is the tool to connect to anybody, anywhere, anytime. Yeah. Right? Yeah. These people get like hundreds of messages, or people have like requests or whatever, but like they can see it on their phone in their hand right when you send it. Yeah. You know, if they follow you or whatever, the weird like logistics behind it to prevent them from seeing it right away, but you can see the stuff right away, which is pretty cool. And that's where I'm like, okay, I hate social media for what it can do. Yeah. But I get to control that.
Yeah, double-edged sword.
Exactly.
It's got benefits, it's got a lot of drawbacks, but I mean, I don't use it too much. I usually keep in touch with my few friends, and I get like chronicling some accomplishments. I think like I've had Instagram for like 7 years or something, but the first time I posted was like 2 years ago. It's like I don't care. No one wants to see selfies.
Hey man, you'd be surprised.
Okay, no one wants to see my selfies.
Hey, you'd be surprised.
You'll be surprised.
Shit.
I'd rather see your selfies.
I apparently don't know what the people want.
You should ask them, dude.
You are what the people want.
Dude, I used to
Stop it.
Every day. I've never gotten as much engagement ever on a post, anything, as when I would do like, I got rid of the app, right? Because I just don't want to browse. So now I can't post stories. I can only post actual photos on my laptop. So I can't post stories. I can't see whose followers have it. It's weird, the like way that I'm kind of hindered with it through my laptop, not on my phone. But what I've been able to use is I can't do my jokes. And I love those, dude. Like I never get nearly as much engagement on anything except those.
Yeah, I love
those.
Jokes.
Thanks, man. Those take like the top of the cake, top of the mountain, cat's meow, whatever you want to call it. You take the cake, man. Like I think the best one I hit it. I was leaving my house and somebody's like, "Yo, you forgot to do it today." I was like, "Shit."
Right on.
I messaged. This is in like June, and I go, I found a really good one, and it was like, today marks 100 days sober, and I sent it, but and then I sent the punchline, but I was on my way home, like I was on my way somewhere, and then I didn't post the punchline. And so when I got to that place, my phone's like blowing up. I'm like, what's going on? There's like 30 people. Yeah, everybody's saying that, right, dude? Exactly. So they're like, "Oh man, congrats! That's huge! I can't believe this is such a big accomplishment for you." You know, I didn't even know you were struggling with it.
Better.
And then but my punchline, I guess, failed to upload. Where my the punchline's like, today marks 100 days sober, not in a row or anything, just in total.
Yeah.
Right. Killer.
Yeah.
But everybody's like, "Oh, wait, aha." You got me, or I can't believe you fucking got me. This one chick was like, "You just drank in my house an hour ago," and I'm like,
"Yeah,
it's a fucking joke." But
a lot of those jokes you post are like so tastefully horrible. I love it.
You told me exactly. I was like, "Yeah."
That's what you go for. I love that little bit of cringe, but it's good.
It's just enough.
Just enough
to not make you go, "I hate this guy. I'm gonna delete him." But just enough to make you go.
Yeah, it's a fine line to walk.
Right. Yeah, dude. There's some times where some people fire me ones, and I'm like, ooh, I can't use that. I'll use it to tell people.
Polarizing.
Yeah, dude. There's some I don't know. There's my favorite that's I thought would be polarizing, but it was I was like, "Did you hear about the kidnapping at school?" And it was like, "I can't believe you're gonna make a joke about it." I'm like, "Don't worry, he woke up." And they're like, "Oh, man."
Got me.
But as a tool, that's what I like to do, because it's like if everybody's complaining or giving facts about governmental BS, or everybody's a medical expert, I'm just like, how about I just make everybody go,
I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So that's kind of that. Those reasons are why I like it as a tool. But past that, and the documentation of what you're doing, and the journaling to see kind of cool progressions and stay in touch with people, it's past that, it's not really, I don't see much use for it.
Yeah, you know? I've tried a few times to make some fitness Instagrams.
Yeah.
I just found as I moved to Sudbury, there's a lot of young men pushed in the wrong direction. There's a lot of drug use here.
Yeah.
A lot of just ill-advised people. So I've always tried to get some engagement on social media, and I could never do it. I could never get an audience. I could never find the time to do something. I could never find it to be worth it.
Yeah.
You know? Maybe if I put up some jokes, I might be an unsung hero like yourself.
I'll let you know when I get the av again. This way we don't cross paths.
Yeah, the engagement I find is really weird. And you know how to get engagement? Just look at any TikTok or viral video.
Yeah.
There's definitely a recipe, but it usually at the lower standard, fairly low.
Yeah, and more often than not, guys like us don't really want to do that.
Exactly.
You know, it's this kind of goes against the majority of the morals I have. You know, they're tattooing things on their face. I'm I'm good. I'm all right. You know, I'll just keep doing my thing. I found it's very, very interesting. It's something that this guy Troy Borgard pointed out to me. He's like, "Dude, I post good and bad because it's as much as it's a documentation of what we're doing, or telling each other what why we're using it for certain things." But I found, he's like, if you use it for just not a highlight reel, but to show people how be authentic, right? It's a matter of, if I think people right now, especially, everybody's trying to be like everybody else, right? You see somebody kicking a bottle cap off a bottle. Now everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
We don't even know where
the
it started.
echo chamber is
right?
It's a lot.
It is, and it's one of those things. I'm like, everybody's trying to be like everybody else. So I think it's just, if you're authentic and you're doing your own thing, and you'll gravitate to, and you're open about what you're doing and why you're doing it and what you're trying to attract, those people find you. And then that engagement happens, right? People like you, people like a handful of others similar, will respond and engage with those little jokes. And I'm like, oh, great, that's cool. It's cool. If it makes people laugh, I'm like, it's awesome. If you get to connect to strangers and then sit down with them for an hour or whatnot to talk about why they've made the decisions or how they're here. I don't know. It's pretty cool. So it's a pretty cool thing when it's used that way.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I love that. The camaraderie and just, that's one thing, I find social media is just kind of stripped that away from us. Even people down the street, sometimes I was taking my nephew through a drive-through, and I said howdy to the girl handing me my coffee, and he felt super embarrassed. He's 9 years old. but like we're Canadians, we're supposed to be
Yeah.
happy and
Yeah,
bubbly and
That's
polite,
true,
and,
yeah.
and we're not. And I'm noticing. I don't know if it's the pandemic or if it's like social media keeping us to the wayside from just talking.
Can be both.
But God, is it ever nice to just talk, say some jokes?
Yeah.
Like nothing's really as serious as it is, you know. Like
no,
you see, like lots of people on their deathbed are like usually laughing or trying to just kind of make everyone else happy, and you're like, as if like this is your final moment, but in reality, like it's just about spreading that happiness.
Yeah.
Like through the smallest of jokes, does it ever go far? That's why I called you an unsung hero. Like it really is awesome. Like, that's wicked.
Propagates.
Yeah, like it just yeah.
And like little things, especially, and I think you were right. I think it could attribute to a bit of. I think the pandemic does play a big part in it, and as much as we're all trying to move past it, I think it is here to stay. I think the way like the virus is, I think we're just going to mitigate it and change it and add these variants and whatever. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, or even the health aspect of it for that matter, but. The way I kind of look at that is I'm like, I value this show more than ever since the pandemic kind of started, doing like the first 6 on Zoom, and then Patty being the first one since the pandemic started to do it in person because like stuff was lifted. So that was really cool, and then being able to meet people through this show has been like, is kind of like right now huge. Like how do you meet strangers right now? How do you meet people? You don't. There's zero outings.
Yeah.
Everybody's online. You
You
know, it's like,
forget
hey,
my social circle is less than 10.
That's right? You're like, I've been hanging out with less than 10 people for years now. But that kind of like, it's really cool because then it's like all these people, I'm like, oh, they're going to be like friends. We're going to train together, do all this stuff, you know? Like I'm kind of, it's weird how I'm kind of not subconsciously, but I'm not intentionally trying to surround myself with cool, good, well people. But it's kind of happening that way, which is the whole like manifestation of it, right? Where you're like, hey, like I'm just trying to be a good dude and authentic, and then it's like it brings those people, right?
Yeah.
So I really like that aspect of what we're doing here. But as we kind of get to the end, do you guys have one kind of parting lesson or thing or quote that you kind of want to share that you think that you learned or that was very important that you think could be passed on well?
Oh man, I never even thought about this. Like we talked about, like having rehearsed script or anything. Like I did not think of anything. A parting message.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe just that proactiveness we were talking about, being proactive or
Try new things.
try new things
that's
and
huge.
get a routine going. Get a routine going. Be proactive. Say howdy.
Say howdy.
You know what I mean?
Words to live by, brother.
And if you got to harden up, drink a cup of cement.
Amazing.
Awesome. This is great.
Right on.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, gentlemen, I really am grateful for your time today. I know you guys are busy guys and you got a lot of things going on, so I appreciate you carving some time out on your Saturday for me. And sorry you couldn't get to the meet today, but I'm stoked to have you in the studio and look forward to seeing you guys again.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
Right on.
Gentlemen.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.